Hi, my name is Louis, and I'm the CEO of ViaMaven. We make performance feedback software. Today, we're going to talk about 9 tips to help you respond or receive your annual performance review. If you receive a good review, then it's easy. You just bask in the admiration of your boss and you collect the rewards. But let's say you get a bad performance review. What do? Do you fight? Do you flee? And what if tears start to flow? Well, rest assured, I've got a handy 9-step process to help you prepare for that performance review discussion. Tip number 1, it's not school anymore. A lot of us go into that performance review discussion as if we're receiving our report card like we were back in school. And here's the surprise. Tip number 1, it's not like school where everybody gets A's or B's. For many of you in the workforce, you're going to be graded on a curve, and there are going to be people who are below average or even in that dreaded bottom 20%. And so if you're going in with the mindset that you're going to receive top 5% just like you did in school, you're absolutely in for a rude awakening. The second reason is the skills that you've built up over your 15 plus years in school may not translate into effective skills in the workplace. For example, in school, we're prized for our ability to take tests or our ability to memorize what's in our textbooks. Those kind of skills, test taking, memorization, they're just not as important in the workplace. And there's good reason that you might get a poor performance review because those skills that you've built up over the years in school just do not translate at work. Tip number 2, don't take it personally. You're probably thinking to yourself, how can we not take it personally? This performance rating is supposed to be a reflection of us, of our work. Well, here's the interesting thing. Scientific studies have shown that at best, 21% of these performance ratings actually reflect our individual performance. So what does the remaining 79% actually reflect? Well, it has nothing to do with the individual being rated. It would actually reflect things like, number 1, differences in the raters. For example, raters who are peers are less likely to judge harshly, especially if they're friends, versus raters who are, let's say, more experienced and have seen more examples of stellar work. They're probably more likely to judge more harshly. Or 2, there might be some sort of criteria differences. When choosing what makes an individual a stellar communicator, reviewer A might choose a person who is extroverted but very verbose, but then reviewer B might choose an individual who is introverted and communicates in a way that's very succinct yet super precise. As much as we hate performance reviews, or at least think that they potentially could be flawed and imperfect, it's much better to have an imperfect metric than no metric at all. And as much as we want to protest and not do performance ratings at all, I believe most of us aren't in the position to do so and opt out of that performance rating exercise completely. Tip number 3, feel the emotion. You shouldn't feel guilty if you're angry, shocked, or surprised. It's natural to feel upset. All of us just want to do well and get recognized. Tip number 4, ask for time to reply. If you're flooded with emotion, you don't have to fight on with that performance discussion. You can ask for more time. You might ask for things like, can I have time to digest a review? I'm a bit disappointed by the outcome and I need time to process my thoughts. Or can we break for now? I'm a bit shocked by the review. I'd like to reflect upon it before discussing. Can we meet on Monday? Number 5, craft your response. Start to brainstorm a list of follow-up questions that you would ask. For example, you noted here that I blank. Do you have specific examples? I see that you said I could have done better with blank deliverable. Do you have an example where you thought it was done well? Or you wanted me to improve my communication skills. How would you improve my communication skills if you were in my shoes? Tip number 6, get a second opinion. A disappointing review may lead you to have some mixed emotions about your boss, your company, or your work. In other words, you might be quick to judge to say that your boss is terrible or the company is atrocious. Before you go off and do something that you might regret, get a second opinion. Find a friend, find a colleague, and ask them, here's what my boss wrote about me in my performance review. What do you think? Is it fair? What you want to do is you want to be able to separate the fact from the fiction so you don't do something that you'll later regret. Tip number 7, let it go. Whether the poor review is warranted or not, holding a grudge against your boss or your company is only going to ruin your mood. And so just let it go. The sooner you can, the happier you'll be. Tip number 8, develop a plan. Even if you disagree with the performance review, you'll benefit from having a plan, and there are 2 reasons why. Number 1, we can all improve. Even if you're a 10 at whatever area, either communication skills or teamwork skills that your boss thought you were deficient, we can all absolutely benefit from being an 11. It signals that you care about your boss's feedback. The best way to show that you actually care about that feedback, that you've understood, internalized, and cared about it, is to take concrete actions to improve. You start by developing that improvement plan, sharing that plan with your boss, and then finally providing regular updates on how you're progressing relative to that plan. The other thing that I'd recommend that you do is to share a modified version of your plan with your colleagues. By sharing with your colleagues, they'll be your cheerleaders. They'll help look out for you to see whether or not you're improving relative to the areas of weakness that you're trying to improve upon. They'll also get a chance to sing your praises to your boss as you're progressing, as you're improving, and helping to change your boss's perception on what he or she thought was one of your biggest weaknesses. Tip number 9, rehearse and role play. When it comes to the performance review, it's a very sensitive and difficult conversation. So it's a good idea to find a friend, role play some of the tougher statements and follow-up questions that you might have with your boss.